Just a video about my personal theories about alcohol, marijuana, and a bit about like anxiety and stuff. Maybe that could be a separate topic, but also how it relates to alcohol and marijuana. So, well, I'm not going to deny that some of my greatest memories in my life have probably been, when I was younger, laughing with my friends, talking with my friends, probably drinking some beers, maybe smoking some pot, We'd be sitting around a table, telling stories or whatever, playing a video game, watching a movie. I just remember, get a little high, get a little drunk, whatever, with your friends. Great times, And now, you get older. I'm in my late 20s. Can't drink like I used to, and that was a lot earlier than I thought it would be, to be honest. I didn't think it would happen I don't know if my body's doesn't work right or what, but I mean, it happened to me at 24, 25. Probably about even like mid 24 or late 24, about 25. I think it was about 24 though, where I just noticed like my hangovers were real then. I didn't even know what a hangover was until I was about 24. And yeah, drinking just wasn't as easy as it used to be. When it comes to when I was younger and used to drink, it would feel like my body would be drunk, but my mind would be like 100% clear, and I just couldn't like quite squeeze the thoughts out of my body from my mind, like out of my mouth from my mind. But I would have like 100% sober clarity thoughts, and in my head it would be like 100% crystal clear. But it would be my body. I'd be like stumbling around, whatever. I can't talk right or whatever it is. But it was great times because I could still think pretty clearly even if I was really hammered. Like I remember even, and I don't recommend it at all, but like I almost killed a whole case to myself in a night. Not a whole case, but and it's on these nights it's just so weird when you're younger and you're drinking. Like your body is just so much more bulletproof than it is when you get older. It fights so hard against that alcohol. I feel like it's like in overdrive. Everything's repairing itself so much quicker. Everything's faster, and you don't realize like the lifestyle that you try to live when you're younger, it doesn't work when you get older at all. And it happens so much sooner than you think. And it was really disappointing, to be honest, because I thought I'd be like going pretty hard until maybe my early 30s, I didn't know like getting old happened so quick. But that said, I wouldn't recommend blowing yourself out like, oh, I don't have much time or whatever, you know what I mean? Because the other comment I was going to say is, while some of my best times have been, drinking with my friends or smoking pot with my friends, you lose a lot of time getting hammered every weekend or whatever it is. I think it's good to be able to limit yourself. You go out, you can drink responsibly. Have 2-3 beers, whatever. Have a nice evening. Remember your conversations. Have some good conversations. See, I spent a lot of time, not a lot. I wasn't a huge drinker, but I used to drink on Saturdays. And there was a while where just about every Saturday I was getting drunk. When I was younger. So, and yeah, it could be fun sometimes. It could be fun to run around, whatever. Run around the bars, run around with your friends through the neighborhood, but I don't know. The quality definitely drops conversationally, and like there's like a subtle satisfaction with kind of just staying in control, staying sober, staying responsible, having a normal conversation. And I think the culture with, not necessarily because there's a lot of people with anxiety who don't drink, but I see this a lot when I went to school late, where a lot of people are getting diagnosed with anxiety now and stuff, and I've dealt with anxiety in my life, and I don't want to come across that guy like I have gay friends, like I've dealt with anxiety, I can comment on this because whatever, because I know I probably come across like that. Everyone deals with everything, right? But I have dealt with anxiety, And there was a time where there was maybe not diagnosable. I never officially got diagnosed, but it was about maybe a 3 week to a month span where I was like genuinely agoraphobic. I only felt safe in my room, in my bed, because I don't know if this is a physical thing happening or a mental thing. I almost have this theory where I have some sort of heart defect, like some kind of like valve problem or an enlarged heart or something. Because back in the day, and here's another advice about drugs and alcohol. Back in the day in high school, I was never prescribed Adderall, but one of my buddies gave me some Adderalls or whatever, and like I mean, I gave him some money or whatever. He kept giving me those Adderalls, again and again. So I was doing these 30 milligram extended release Adderalls, and I gotta say, I mean, it made me like a superhero in class. I wouldn't recommend doing it though. And I'll tell you why. One, you shouldn't have to depend on it, honestly. You probably do not have ADD. I don't know what ADD is, but then again, my commentary on all that, like what is anxiety? What is depression, Am I depressed? Am I anxious? I mean, I got prescribed Valium before for anxiety, but am I really an anxious person? Am I diagnosed anxiety disorder? I don't know, but I took those extended release Adderalls in high school, and I mean, they made me a little depressed, but like maybe really want to talk, and I got a lot of good drawings done. I used to draw a lot in high school, and it was pretty great. But I remember this one night I smoked weed, and then I was on Adderall, and later that night I got a little high, and then I was on the Adderall that day too. And my heart started racing. Like I thought I was having a heart attack. I thought I was gonna die. And I'm not sure if that was some kind of physical reaction or like it brought up some kind of anxiety disorder or whatever. But I remember just being in the bathroom, and this is when I lived with my mom. But I came out of the bathroom just in my boxers, and I'm like, Mom. I'm like, I don't know, something's wrong. Like, I smoked weed and I'm like on Adderall or whatever. Like, because I was getting like tunnel vision and my heart was just like pounding. Like, I'm pretty sure it was in like an arrhythmia. It was around probably 140. I'm not really sure. And the scary thing is, it was like that for probably way too long. Probably long enough to debatably do some physical damage to my body. I have no idea. I mean, it was probably 10-15 minutes of just this rapid heartbeat. And even later at night, I finally kind of came down a little bit. I finally calmed down or whatever. And even laying in my bed, I would get these random jolts where I would get like this kind of like almost like a palpitation, like a random little jolt, like and I'd be like, and I got like, I would sit up from my bed and it would make it feel like kind of better or whatever. Even talking about this, like, freaks me out, because that was one of the worst feelings I've ever had in my life. So I wouldn't recommend ever doing Adderall. I don't even know, maybe, attention deficit disorder, some people really need it. I'm not sure. I was always I feel like I was calmer on Adderall myself. So, I mean, that might be a testament. Maybe I'm ADD. I don't know, because people have even commented like, well, you seem way chiller and calmer right now. And I don't know, but I'll say this. I don't think I have attention deficit disorder, and I'd be hard-pressed to really, maybe 1 out of 100 on it, not even, 1 out of 200 really should take this medication. I really don't think you should take Adderall. I think it's really dangerous. And I have read and heard that it changes your brain chemistry, maybe even, I don't know for how long, but it like changes the way the chemicals in your head work. So I wouldn't do that. And wow, I don't know what kind of tangent I got on there. Related to anxiety, so don't do Adderall. Don't do Adderall and smoke weed, especially. If you're gonna smoke weed, just be in a good environment, be with people you trust. If you want to try weed, I don't think weed, marijuana is not really that good of a drug, to be honest. I think it's really overrated, personally. Weed also used to be not as potent back in the day, because I remember when I first tried pot, I was probably 14 years old or so. I don't know. Maybe a little. I was probably about 14. So hopefully it didn't mess up my head, but I think everything was like kind of merged back then, and now everything is just like super hydro dank, and you can't take one hit of weed now, and it's just like you just blast it off, like panic attack. My heart's racing, I don't know. It can be fun once in a while. And I will say this about marijuana. The best highs I've ever gotten, the best high I've ever gotten from marijuana has been when I got too high originally, and then I came down to the sweet spot level. And I think there's two factors to that. One, there's a certain, I wouldn't recommend getting too high though, because it's not fun. But the nights where I happen to accidentally get too high and then come down and like get to that chill level where I'm finally comfortable, that has been the best experience with marijuana I've ever had. And if you're a really healthy individual, you could probably smoke pot and be okay. But I don't know. I wouldn't recommend marijuana to anyone, to be honest. Maybe just try it. But I don't know. I wouldn't recommend it. Just because you never know. You might have an underlying condition or whatever it is. Because even after that Adderall thing that, I took Adderall in high school and I smoked weed and I had some sort of heart thing, some heart event. I didn't think it was a panic attack. I think it was a legitimate like physical thing. Even after that, it's happened when I just smoked pot after I stopped taking Adderall, and this is for a while, like probably like months and months. It's happened again when I just smoked marijuana. So I wouldn't mess with Adderall at all. But I know I've heard people get stuff like that, like, racing heart, kind of panic attacks and stuff when they smoke weed or smoke too much weed. And I would just, if you do try weed, I would treat it with respect, I would just take it one step at a time. But anyway, my theory with the whole perfect high level, I think it's two factors. I think you get kind of burnt out from being too high. Like I think you get burnt out from it in the sense of like you're like adrenaline almost, like a fight or flight, like adrenaline. Your head gets like spent. It gets used up. And you get relaxed. It's kind of like you work out, you do some bicep curls, whatever, and then you stop doing it, and you're like, then you rest, And it's like a moment of stress or whatever. It's like a roller coaster. You're up on the hill, I'm stressed, and then at the bottom there's like this relief, and it's like this washing over you. And I feel like that's why the best high ever that you would get from marijuana would be first when you get too high and then come down, because one, you're actually a little burnt out and you have that relief that washes over you, and two, now you're on that perfect level with said relief. So like if you just got on that level to begin with, you wouldn't have the relief from getting too high. So now you're at like, the second point basically is you can hit the perfect level, as opposed to if you don't, this is the perfect level. If you don't get too high first, you can't come down to the perfect level. So say you're just trying to like, maybe you start smoking weed or whatever. Okay, I'll take a hit. You might get here, not the perfect level. It's real hard to shoot exactly at the perfect level without kind of going over it. And then see, that's that double effect. If you go over it, you get a little burnt out and then come down to the perfect level. So, but again, I don't advocate smoking marijuana at all. I recommend you don't smoke marijuana because it's really not that good of a drug. And I don't understand how people, they go out and they smoke pot at like parties and stuff, or like they'll smoke and go to the mall or whatever, or go see a movie. I hate being out in public when I smoke weed. It gives me an anxiety attack. I feel like I regress like into a child when I smoke weed. I feel very insecure. I feel like I can't I feel like I can't deal with anything. I feel like I can't deal with conflict. I feel like I can't deal with the world or anything. So I can deal with like relaxing. I can deal with like listening to music, maybe being with a couple friends or something, sitting down, maybe watching something. I don't want to have to deal with like strangers and stuff when I smoke. I know the more you do it, there's people, they smoke a lot and like it's fine for them. And I would argue that they just get less high. So they're like less high out in public, or they're more used to being high in general. But being high and around like strangers and stuff, it's not really that good of a feeling, in my opinion. See, that's where alcohol comes in. And this is what I was going to comment, the anxiety with, specifically the anxiety subject with alcohol and marijuana. With weed, there's a few things that I've learned, and they might sound even crazy, but if you smoke weed and you're like, you have high anxiety, you're like, oh, I'm going to have a panic attack. There's a few things I figured out that definitely help. And I know this is probably been said before, it's probably on some list online somewhere, but this is just me personally, what I think. I think that it all kind of comes down to a major theme is minorly like stressing yourself, like minorly shocking the body, or a sense of relief. So the first one would be to change your environment. So say you're outside, go inside. Say you're inside, take a step outside. Maybe walk around the house you're at or whatever it is. You want to expand your territory. If you, or do whatever you want, because whatever, just chill out, man. But if you're too high, what I always found to kind of relieve my anxiety is to expand the fog of war, like RTS terms. Expand your territory, and then you feel comfortable at more places, and like, okay, like I'm here now. And that's the whole thing. Like if you're anxious, you're too high, like you're scared basically. You're in like this fight or flight mode. Well, you realize like nothing's gonna attack you and kill you, right? If you're outside, and nothing's gonna attack you inside or whatever, and like you're fine, and you can be here and you can be there, and the temperature's okay and whatever, and drink some water, and get a bite to eat, and it's fine. Another thing I found this is such a simple one, obviously. I mean, just going to the bathroom, literally take a piss. Taking a piss, that sense of relief reduces my anxiety a little bit. Obviously it's better if you have to pee, right? But I mean, that's such a stupid one. It sounds so dumb, but honestly, every time I've taken a piss when I'm like really high, I feel a little bit better after, and that's just basic body function. So it's a stupid one, but I always noticed that when I was, really high. This one I don't advocate for, the third one, but I want to just, I guess, explain the concept. I mean, I'm desperately trying to, quit smoking, and I've been just doing the vape thing, and now the whole vape illness and whatever, I don't even want it, that's a whole nother video. I'm still casually vaping, and I used to smoke cigarettes, and I always found that this is such a bad idea because it constricts your blood vessels too, but I always found that it's like the initial burst when if you're smoking a cigarette, I would temporarily get more anxiety if I were to smoke a cigarette when I'm too high. But then when I kind of come down from that, about 15 minutes later or whatever, that's 10-15 minutes later, that little initial nicotine constricts your blood vessels, that initial nicotine buzz, I would always feel a lot more relieved. But I would highly recommend you don't smoke cigarettes to reduce anxiety, because I think that's actually the worst advice ever. This is the stupid advice. But I think it's more just a testament to kind of like initially shocking yourself, which the expanding your territory, the point one where if you're inside, go outside. If you're outside, go inside. It's initially kind of like scary, like, oh, I'm going to move and go somewhere or whatever. But then you realize, and that's the third point I'm trying to kind of relate to the first one, you just want to do something that like you don't necessarily want to do, but it's harmless. Like maybe like take a shower. Taking a shower is a huge one, and I've heard this from people. Because like immediately, if you're super high, I don't know if I want to necessarily feel every single little shower raindrop on my body, because that's like overstimulating to me. But when you do, and then you like step out and you feel fresh, like showered a little bit, whatever, even if it's just for a second, there's something weird, like shamanistic, with like water on the skin too. You don't even need to take a shower. You think you can't handle taking a shower? Just put some water on your like head and face. Just put some water. This nice cool water. Doesn't have to be cold. Doesn't have to be freezing cold. You don't have to jump in an ice bath, but just put a little water in your face. But this is taking too long. I feel I only have like 10 minutes left of video. But so there's marijuana and anxiety and whatever. Maybe how they relate slightly. But, I don't know. Maybe some drugs just aren't for some people. And I've always liked alcohol a lot more. And I know they say alcohol is way worse for you than weed. So if you're more of a pot smoker and you don't really touch alcohol, good for you. Keep that up. If you don't do either, continue to do neither, honestly, because honestly, you can have fun without weed or alcohol or anything, really. I just gave up coffee, actually, because I was actually at the doctor for a heart palpitation. So, and their brilliant recommendation was that I just quit drinking coffee. I mean, next I'll, have to stop wearing shoes or whatever. I had what was it? Took my blood pressure, they did an EKG, they said everything looked good, and then, you know what they say? Oh, just quit drinking coffee, that can definitely, that could worsen palpitations. It's like, all right, sweet. I mean, millions of Americans drink coffee every day, but I mean, yeah, no, you're perfectly fine, but you have to stop drinking 1 cup of coffee a day. I was literally drinking 1 cup of coffee. That's fine, I'm used to it, it's been weeks. But anyway, with alcohol and anxiety, see, this is a lot of people, especially going to college late. This is what I was trying to get at, 15 minutes ago. A lot of people are getting diagnosed. They say they have an anxiety disorder, or I have anxiety, or whatever. And yeah, you probably do have anxiety. I mean, a lot of people have anxiety. It's it's a basic human thing that, especially when I think a lot of the people saying they have anxiety, where you're a college kid, you go out on the weekends or whatever it is, and I obviously mean this what's the word? Figuratively, but on the weekends these kids are so used to, they're dancing on the pool table, they're acting, they're being all wild, they're talking to random strangers, they're out at the bars, they're drinking, whatever. And I feel like the amount of, there's what's the word? There's a huge disconnect with how they feel, I guess, with their friends on the weekend when they're drinking alcohol or whatever, when they're in their element, basically their social element with the social lubricant of alcohol. And then then there's whatever they're walking around a facility, they're sitting in class with 30, 40 strangers packed in like sardines. I hated sitting in class. You're sitting, not just the sitting element in itself, picture that, you're sitting in an uncomfortable plastic chair for 2 hours. I could barely stand. I felt like I was going to get some deep vein thrombosis or something from sitting in those chairs for so long. I literally thought I was going to get a blood clot. I was getting anxiety just physically sitting in a plastic chair for 2 hours. It kind of freaked me out, just on a physical level, man. And yeah, and you're around all these strangers. And then they think, oh, I'm so anxious. I don't really want to give my opinion in front of 30 strangers when I'm packed in like sardines in this classroom, sitting in this annoying, uncomfortable plastic chair for 2 hours. Yeah, dude, because that sucks. It gives me anxiety too. And I think there's just this disconnect where they think they should be on top of the world dancing on the pool table, when it's no, you are in this situation where you are around a ton of just random strangers that are probably, they don't really give a shit what you're doing realistically, but yeah, in your head, they're all judging you, right? And they're all strangers and whatever. I mean, they're judging you and they're not judging you. You know what I mean? We over exaggerate that in our heads. I mean, I will say this. People are judging you, right? But I don't think they're judging you as often, as hard as, what you think. Somebody might do something, somebody might even say, somebody, because I just graduated, somebody in class, they'd say some weird shit, they'd just say some wacky shit. They're I'll look at the person and be like, that guy seems kind of weird. And then I'll forget about it literally a second later. It's not like I'm lingering on this dude, thinking about him all day long. I have better things to do than think about this dude. So, I don't know. But yeah, I don't know about the whole anxiety disorder thing. And, some people, genuinely, they might keep breaking down and have panic attacks or whatever. And I do not recommend anyone gets off medication. If you're on medication, keep taking it, ask your doctor. But I would honestly, I'd think long and hard if you're thinking about getting on medication. I would just make sure you have a real problem, like a real debilitating, like you cannot function whatsoever. If you go out and feel a little anxious, then just try to work through it. Honestly, it gets easier, and that's the same thing. You know, I used to be. This could be a whole nother video. I mean, I used to be a chunky kid, and I was not like bullied, but I've been made fun of for being fat, and I finally lost weight. I think like it was junior year of high school, and I know it's kind of a stretch to relate these things, but it's like when you're dieting or whatever, it's hard for like 3 days, you know. You start, oh, this sucks, I'm eating less, I'm eating healthier, whatever, but honestly, a week later, you get used to it, and that's the same thing with anxiety. It's just you have to work at it. You don't. I'm not saying to go join the army and then try to shoot someone, but leave the house. Try to have a casual conversation with somebody in the grocery store or whatever. Just try to do a simple interaction with somebody, and you will get better at it. It will. I promise. It'll only take if you do have this mindset where you are trying to just like baby steps. You can leave anywhere too. That's the thing with things. People need to realize this, and it always calms me down realizing that you can leave wherever you are 99.9% of the time. Like, you don't need to be anywhere really, unless you get arrested for something. If someone's even talking to you 99.9% of the time, you can turn around and just walk out of that room or walk out of that building, get in your car, just go home. So have that in the back of your mind. You can always escape 1 foot out the door, right? But then just do a small interaction with somebody, and honestly, that's how you work on anxiety. So